Hey guys, so today we are going to do some quick notes over convection currents. Remember that convection currents are something that you learned in 6th grade, but they play a big part in everything that we're about to talk about for the rest of this unit. So you have this paper, it may already be cut out for you. What we're going to want is the outline rectangle, and then if you have the title, don't get rid of that. So once it gets cut out, it's going to look like this. And we have our title. We're going to want to, with your scissors, go ahead and trim down the title. Just like this. You may even want to cut off the extra white part at the top to make sure that you have room. Then what we're left with is the big piece. We see the dotted lines on the edges. We're going to leave those alone. That's where we're going to fold. But then we have the bold lines that make the plus sign in the middle. That is what we are going to cut. So we are going to go ahead and cut this down the middle. That's going to give us 2 separate pieces. Then we still have a line on each side that's solid that we're also going to cut across, just like our other foldables that we have done. Okay, so now you're left with 1, 2, 3, 4. Along this dotted line is where we are going to fold it. I'm going to go ahead and glue it down first. So with your glue stick, you're going to want to do some glue just along the edge. I'm going to try to get it as far over as I can. Probably had a little extra room there, that's okay. And then the same with the other side. I had just enough room. If you are using a composition notebook, yours might overlap a little bit, but that is okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue down my title. If you're using a composition and there's not enough room for your title, that's fine. We can just write it in somewhere wherever it fits. Go ahead and glue down the edges so it doesn't get pulled off. Okay, so now we are all glued in and ready to start writing. So the first square I'm going to start with is the one up here in the top left. What causes the wind and ocean currents? So what we're looking at right now is not necessarily local weather like what we see on the news, but what we're looking at is actual global patterns. What is the Earth's patterns for wind and ocean currents? So we're going to flip this open. And from what we've been watching, we know that convection currents are what causes wind and ocean currents. So we are going to write under here, convection currents. And we're going to remind ourselves what convection currents are.
Mr. Cochran, can you please dial extension 3901? Mr. Cochran, 3901.
Okay, so remember that convection currents are heat rising and cool air falling. So remember that hot air or heat is less dense, so it's going to rise. Cool air gains density, it's more dense, so it is going to fall. And these cause wind and ocean currents. So if I wrote too fast, go ahead and pause right here, get this copied down. Okay, then we're going to close that, and now we're going to go to some patterns. So we're going to look right here at the top right. It says draw arrows to indicate the wind direction during the daytime causing a sea breeze. I'm going to go ahead and underline sea breeze. I'm also going to underline daytime. Okay, so we're going to be looking at wind direction during daytime. Now what I would like for you to do is have a red and a blue colored pencil. The red is going to represent warm air and the blue is going to represent cooling air. So during the day, causing a sea breeze, heat is going to rise over the land mass and then it's going to fall over the cooling ocean. So this is what we are going to draw. So with your red pencil first to represent the warm air, we're going to draw a red arrow moving up, a red arrow representing the warm air coming over, and actually it's still a little warm over here over the landmass. So with our red colored pencil, we're going to show our warm air rising. Then with our blue colored pencil, we're going to show that this air is cooling, and as it cools, it's going to fall over the cooler ocean. So here's our convection current, our cycle. The cool air is falling, the ocean is cooler, then the landmass has been warmed by the sun, so it warms the air that's above it, and the warm air rises. And then this cycle continues to happen. This is what causes a sea breeze. So the breeze is going to be blowing off the ocean onto the land. On the inside, I want us to kind of describe what's going on. So let's fold this over. So, during the day, it's kind of hard to write over my spiral, sorry about that. During the day, heat rises over the hot landmass and falls over the cooler ocean. So what I'm really wanting us to get here is that we feel like the sun warms the air, but what the sun actually does is it warms the landmass, and then the heat comes off of the land and warms the air around it. So same with the ocean. The ocean is cooler than the land, so it's going to keep the air over the ocean cooler. If you haven't gotten this quite down, go ahead and pause because I'm going to move on. Okay, so we're going to close this one. Now we're going to come down here to what happens at nighttime. So bottom left, draw arrows to indicate the wind direction during the nighttime, causing a land breeze. So we've got the moon here showing us that it's nighttime. So again, we are going to need our red and blue colored pencils. So during the nighttime, what happens is that heat rises over the warmer ocean, and then it's going to fall over the cooled landmass because the sun is not heating the land during the day. The sun's not out for us. So the landmass cools down. So how we're going to draw this is we'll start with our warm again. And we've got our warm ocean warming the air, so that air becomes less dense and begins to rise. Then as that air travels over the land, it begins to cool down and sink. So as it does that, it's not a very good arrow, the cool air sinks, then it goes over the ocean warms the air again, it becomes less dense, so it rises, then it begins to cool as it comes back over the land. This is what creates a land breeze. So notice now the air is moving from the land toward the ocean, so your wind currents would be moving this way. So again, it asks us to describe why inside, so we are going to open this up. And we're going to give ourselves just that short little explanation. During the night, heat rises. During the night, during the night, heat rises over the warmer oceans. And falls over the cooled, I'll write it right here, over the cooled landmass. So during the night, heat's going to rise over the warmer oceans and it's going to fall over the cooled landmass. If you didn't quite get that yet, go ahead and pause and get it finished. Then we are going to move to the bottom right. describe convection currents and where we can find them in the Earth's processes. So first thing, it came unglued. I'm going to have to fix that. First, we are going to describe convection. So convection currents are caused by, and this is a reason why I wanted us to use red and blue, so that we can see each time, no matter what it is we're looking at convection currents, our heat, our warm air, always goes which direction? Always goes up. So our warm air is always rising, and our cooler air is always sinking. This is what convection is. So convection currents are caused by rising heat, that should be a T, rising heat and falling cool. And there are 3 places in Earth's processes that we can find convection currents. 2 that we are concerned about having to do with weather and climate. 1 we're going to write in there, and we're actually going to be talking about in the next quarter. So the first place that we can see convection currents is in the ocean. This is what causes our ocean currents. The second place we can see them is in the atmosphere, and I'm going to write atmosphere/wind. This is what causes our wind currents and our wind patterns. And then the third place that we can see convection, which is something that you learned about in 6th grade also, is in the Earth's mantle. Remember, the mantle is the earth layer where we have magma. So, if you did not get that written, go ahead and pause right here. We are going to be done with this set of notes about convection currents. Make sure everything is glued in. Make sure, I'm going to finish gluing this right here. Make sure that your lid gets back on your glue stick. If you got the scissors out, go ahead and put those up, and make sure that your colored pencils get put back where they go.